I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott, and we are here to talk about e-commerce and the bigger picture of consumers. Where are things changing from a technology and product perspective for consumers? How are we buying things? How will we buy things? And what are some of the really exciting opportunities that are coming to head? Is it in video games? Is it in live streaming events? We're here to talk just about that today and so much more. But before we get into introducing our guest, a big thank you to you, our audience, for tuning in. If you're liking what you hear, click that big red subscribe button to tune in all day, every day of VCTV episodes as we bring the best and the brightest from around the world to share their thoughts and insights and on the ground perspective of different technologies, industries, and regions around the world to give you the latest information you need to know when making investments or building your next company as well. And if you'd like to be on a show like today as an investor joining our panels, do reach out. And entrepreneurs, there's also a spot for you to reach out as well. Joining our virtual stage here at VCTV to pitch us your company, product, or service to get real-time feedback from us as investors and founders focused on your area, but also to build foundational relationships with us and exposure to our entire live community. What better way to end the year and kick off another than doing just that? Reach out to the team and or myself, and we'd love to find the right spot for you. And a big thank you to that team at LA Token and to Maria for making VCTV possible every day and bringing all of us together in this virtual world that we all live. With that, I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. Let's talk about consumer and e-commerce and introduce each of our panelists today. Susan, let's kick it off with you. Welcome back. It's such a pleasure. A little intro and a little background.
Pleasure is mine. Thanks for having me. Susan Akbarpour. I'm a partner at GSD Ventures, an early stage fund. To say a little bit about me, as an immigrant woman, I believed I achieved American dream, founding 3 startups and spearheaded many projects in media, advertising, retail, and software industries in different positions, entrepreneur, investor, board member, editor-in-chief, chief product officer, just to mention a few. And as my LinkedIn profile suggests, the last 10 years after graduating from a GSP in Stanford in 2010, I've made my mission to develop, invest, and leverage consumer-centric and tool-based technologies that can put an end, hopefully, to the internet consumer as a product model, which is a model that I think today's panel is all about, how we can help the consumers rather than taking advantage of them and intruding their privacy and selling their data.
I'm so excited to dive into that here in just a moment as well. I've been reading a lot about where things are shifting, just general trends and behaviors towards consumers. And Susan, I think your thesis is spot on, and excited to open that up here in just a moment. But Jose, welcome back to the show as well. Man of many hats.
Hi.
Hi. Little intro, little background.
Thank you. Happy to be on your show again. And this is one of the topics that I really love, especially because I've been in this area for a long time, not only in finance. I also built the first, more or less the first e-commerce solution with integrated ERP in 1999. It was quite a long time ago. And I built the first software as a service net shop solution in 2005. And I got a gold medal in 2008 for innovation and built the first cloud ERP with digital marketing and full POS and full e-commerce in 2010, fully touchscreen based, which was a hit in Portugal. So this is a topic that I really know, let's say, the ingredients of. So my name is Jose Graca. I've been a serial entrepreneur now for 40 years. 26 years as a business angel, 3 years as a VC. I really have many hats, as Kyle said, but I love much more to be an entrepreneur, and for the simple reason that I feel that I'm more involved into the building of everything. Today, I'm building something is called Biz Money, with a bunch of people. And what we are trying to do is bridge the lack of funding that is available for micro and small business owners that are not about innovation or have running businesses and that need a solution to basically kick off to get to those first free cash flows in a very fast pace. And I'm back to you, Kyle.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jose. Joel, welcome to the show as well. A little intro, a little background for everybody, please.
Yeah, sorry, I was moving around. I'm trying to find a place where the sun doesn't come in my face here in the
Oh, you look great right now.
That's good.
You're perfect.
That's good. I'm still sipping my coffee, but I don't have as nice a mug as you do. So I think the best thing I can say is the last 10 years or 15 years or so, we've been focused pretty much in the hospitality space, food and beverage, hotels and the like. But I'm an Asia Pacific person. I've worked in Asia Pacific for almost 40 years. And I started up with a group of other people, DirecTV in Japan. DirecTV started in the early 1990s. It was the first digital satellite broadcasting company by Hughes Electronics. So I was involved with that early team that got that started. And what I've learned from that and going forward, in Asia, they pretty much they went from nothing to internet streaming TV and past cable and, to some extent analog dishes for satellite broadcasting, but then went straight to streaming. In the United States, obviously streaming came much later than a lot of places in Asia. But what I've learned from all of that is that content makes the money and nothing else makes money. So the distributors of the content don't make very much money, but if you have the right content, you can sell it to any platform, whether it's an iPhone, whether it's a Peacock, whether it's Netflix, whatever it is. And so the learning from that is I'd much rather be in the content business than be in the distribution business of any form of digital platform. Of course, this is before marketplaces and network effects and all of that. And most recently, our group, we have two investments that may or may not be relevant, but one of them is we're building in Australia and Southeast Asia a complete end-to-end ordering delivery platform with, I would say, deep data analytics for retailers to be able to reach out to their consumers with far more clarified offers. So we're taking everything from the way you order anywhere, anytime, either through Facebook Messenger or through your marketplace or through Google or any way you want to order, you can order. And it gets delivered with a delivery platform, which we have, which gives the retailer, the retailers keep their data with their consumers, and we provide the analytics for them to, grow their business. So we've been able to grow their same-store sales 10, 20% just using these technologies. So we're quite excited about that. And then we're adding, on top of that, we're working with a UK company that's an AI-driven virtual kitchen concept to help restaurants in particular maximize their kitchen efficiency. So we're trying to put all that together into a simple end-to-end solution that helps consumers order contactless food, but at the same time, help retailers, restaurants in particular, actually make money from this rather than just suffer, which they're doing now through all of these delivery third parties that don't make any money for anybody. So that's what I'm about it.
Wonderful. And there is definitely room for that. And I want to come back to it in just a moment here, Joel. So thank you. Welcome. And Gary, last but not least, a little intro, a little background for everybody.
Yeah. So my name's Gary Fowler, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've done 16 companies. And in fact, I had one of the first e-commerce consulting companies. I actually had raised money from P. Hong Chen at Broadvision in California. So I started that in the late 90s. I remember when people were laughing, saying, "Oh, this e-commerce thing, it's not going to be anything. It's all about selling books." And it was funny. We were doing websites for major airlines, and the business really took off. But anyhow, I've been involved in tech for over 35 years, 16 companies. I was on the original management team of Click Software, which was sold for $1.35 billion 17 months ago. I also started Eva.ai, which is one of the top 10 AI companies today, especially in the HR tech, AI and HR tech space. So I love artificial intelligence. The e-commerce thing, obviously, we've been through challenges over the last year. I mean, our world is turned upside down. In a lot of ways, it's been a blessing for a lot of the companies that have responded to this digital transformation. And it's great to be here and to talk about these cool things today. So look forward to it.
Wonderful. And happy to have all of you. And Susan, I want to start with you and asking not just the current picture and current state of consumer as you see it, but you've been in the consumer space for a few years and see this new model rising, and would love to hear your thoughts on the future of commerce and consumers. Your model of consumer as a product, I think, is very relevant for today. So if you could explain to us what you're seeing from your perspective of the future of consumer and commerce.
Sure. Well, I think the major problem that I discovered 10 years ago when I was researching about new advertising models effect on user privacy in Stanford was the fact that the advertising models haven't been changed for hundreds of years, right? I mean, get it or regret it models. This is what we're offering. And now we're trying with these new advertising models, targeting, retargeting, and being on the face of the consumers all the time, to the extent that we're really bothering them, and so and it's annoying to them, is the fact that the retailers wants to reach me as a consumer wherever I go, instead of them being reachable by me. So that's completely a different mindset, right? So if they want to bug me with, like, let's say I'm looking for a Chanel bag online, and then all of a sudden all my emails and my life will be flooded by these offers for Chanel bags, right? Even if I bought it, when I bought it, I still get those annoying things. It's just like it seems that they're intruding my privacy. They know something about me. Okay, at the beginning it was fun 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, when only a few handful retailers have the money and resources to do that. But now I'm getting bombarded by the offers that they think they want me to have. In fact, my parents 6 years ago, they started, if not the first advertising agency in Iran, one of the first. And I was looking at these models, and I thought that this is not that different with my father's or parents' time advertisement, get it or regret it, as I said. And then we're trying to sell the consumers' data and the contact information to everyone to bombard them even more, instead of being there, trying to see what the advertiser wants and when they want us in their life, and then process data for them. What the customers want are I call them 4P. It's price or promotions. That's the category of the price. Proximity, how soon and how fast or where they can buy that. Popularity, what people said about that product, right? And then how, or if the whatever such and such celebrity had it, or my cousin had it, what people said about that. And basically other options, right? If I want to have it, if I want to have something similar in a different price point, or closer to me, or different color, I need to be able to process that data as soon as possible to make the best decisions. The advertising models today is not about being convenient to consumers. It's about pushing them to what we think they want. We're outsmarting the consumers all the time. And eventually it got back and haunted us with $300 billion every year wasting on advertising. And the center of advertising today and retail sales is content. As Joel mentioned, content is the king, right? But we need to find a model to monetize this content better. Like, let's say if one of the company that I founded in 2010, our really goal was making the world around us shoppable, to make contextual, or make the world, turn the world to a big shopping mall. So everything that I see around, I can scan a QR code off the wall and see all the products around me, or in a movie or whatever, and buy whatever I want. And that system in the background process those 4Ps that I talked about, right? So it's all about being reachable by consumer, not having all the tools to reach the consumers wherever we want. So I think that's my 2 cents. Let's see what other people think about it.
Yeah, and Joel, to you, thank you, Susan. Anything to add on that to further Susan's point?
Not really. I just think the point I was trying to make really was I would rather be the person that owns the content rather than the person distributing the content. Because when you start distributing the content, unless you're an Amazon that controls a massive amount of share and have this ability to, I don't want to say monopolize, but I mean, pretty much control where people order, then I'd much rather be the content provider. I've learned that over the years, that in terms of the profitability of businesses, as I use DirecTV as a very good example, I don't think DirecTV may be in business in 5 years, because their model of satellite broadcasting has been eclipsed by streaming, by internet streaming, right? So that was the point, but the content is still there, right? And the content moves to where they're paid more, which is why there's nothing on TV anymore, right? You turn on cable TV, there's nothing to watch, right? You have to pretty much go to the paid services.
Well, and just
may add quickly, the subscription models and push advertising models fail. We need to discover another model, maybe pull advertising.
Well, and just to interject, right, it's not all about television anymore, as it used to be. There is so much more. And to Susan's point about consumers as the product, going, and Joel, to your comment of going where the consumers are, I mean, right now there was a great article in the LA Times this morning actually about video games and video games becoming the new runway, and the fact that Gucci, MCM, Louis Vuitton, and a few others have stepped into Animal Crossings, a Nintendo directed game, and then also a handful of others where those are actually now becoming the new place where consumers are. And it's either for the avatars that they have and or themselves as well, right? We're starting to see that model where video games, e-commerce, live events, either Zoom like this or virtual ones nonetheless, are becoming a new outlet as well of content, a new channel. I don't know if either of you have seen that, but would love to hear your thoughts as well, Jose, and what you're seeing around this evolving model of commerce.
So I agree fully with the very excellent exposure that Susan made, and also the comments from Joel. And definitely the people are getting tired of constant advertising. And let me put it like this. We have been looking and struggling with complete new models. The advertising models as a revenue income stream, which is fine, but cannot be applied to everything and everywhere. And there need to be some alternatives. So the way we planned it out is like this. Inside the biz money social market economy, okay, every citizen who is going to watch an advertising gets paid for it. It's inverting the whole concept. So that means that if you want to advertise something to somebody, right, then you start paying him directly for him to watch, your advertisement. And that's how it should be, because we should not be bombarded constantly with things we don't want, so turn it around, right? Now, maybe if you get paid for it, then, you will take 15 minutes to watch an X amount of promotions or, a few of other things. And that's the way we look at in the economy. I always say this because look, you, Kyle, Joel, Susan, and Gary, right? We all together are the economy. The economy is just individuals. And we all are having two roles in this economy, everybody of us. We all are consumers, and we are all suppliers to the same economy. There is no other way, right? And you just need to understand how to handle it in both ways. So if you understand how to handle it in both ways, then definitely there are people who want to have something because we all need something. And definitely there are people who are able to deliver because we need their supply, right? And if you do this properly, then today with the technology that we have, I strongly believe that you don't need advertising at all. It's just the way how you set it up, but I leave it let. I leave it on this point, not to disclose too much.
I love where you're leaving it, Gary, to you. And I also brought up the gaming aside because I know you do a little bit with the influencers as well. We've talked a little bit about some of the AI techniques that you've worked with. Anything to add on to what Joel, Jose, and Susan have added as to the future of commerce, and maybe a little bit of some of your work in the influencer space?
Yes. So, well, you've seen Maya, so the social media influencer that we have. So that's really that's from one of my companies, Soman, that's in our accelerator, which is one of the first artificially created social media influencers, and is doing work for companies like Puma today. So I say she's doing work. I don't know what's a she or it or what, but anyhow, it's a composite of thousands of faces from Asia, and you can check it out. Maya is she's really famous now. But I mean, let's look at it where we are. So we need to enhance the online shopping experience with augmented reality. We got to make it deeper and more personal. There's going to be a lot more voice search from my perspective, and all this data we have flying around everywhere. People think when they log in with Facebook, there's nothing going on. But I mean, we're tying all the data together. So we need to be able to create these hyper personalized on-site experiences that are individual. And then, all the data, Kyle, we've talked about it time and time again. I've said, there's 40 zettabytes of data today, 29 times back and forth to the moon. There's that much data. If we take CDs or DVDs and stack them one on top of another, they would be stacked 29 times. So we got a lot of data. It's growing at 62% a year. The other thing is we've got a lot of things being pushed at us, and we need to have not smart, but intelligent assistants that help us make some decisions as to what's really important for us. I kind of like it when I'm shopping online. Like I was looking for a part for this car that I just rebuilt, a Honda Element, and I needed a very specific part. And I was looking, and it was a part on eBay, but then I was looking on eBay, and then all of a sudden I see it pop up because I searched it on my Facebook. I loved it, actually. I bought it. So, so I like that because our time and the challenge of being able to find the right stuff. The good news is, compared to 20 years ago, we had to go out to a store and shop, and it took forever, or you had to order it online. You didn't know what catalog to get it from. Now you can order it in an instant. I love that. So, and I remember I started one of the first e-commerce consulting companies. I did Delta Airlines website. This is before people talked about personalization and customer loyalty. They were laughing at us, right? American Airlines, Delta Airlines, Walmart, et cetera. But it was kind of funny because, why would you want to do this? We don't trust the internet. We're never going to give them the credit cards. Now everybody does it. It's kind of odd. Now, if you go someplace, if you don't have your credit card, it's kind of odd. So then the other thing is chatbots to improve the experience. We've got to have chatbots to make our shopping experience more robust. Now, the one thing, and I forget who said it, we talked about, different ways to be able to pay. So I think that's critically important for us. Also, video, having videos up. I love it. Personally, I love it if I'm trying to buy something and somebody has a video there and they run me through what it is and how they use it. I love it. So, and I do look at the reviews. So I think that that's really interesting for me. Subscriptions. So I know one thing, once I get hooked into a subscription, I don't get off. I get the stuff coming. I got to tell you, I had so much toilet paper coming for a while. It was unbelievable. I was a subscription. I got one garage. I had to buy another garage here. So I bought a garage to put toilet paper and tissue because I went in and I did a subscription thing on way too much of it. So, but the beauty is we're going to have more hyper personalized experiences during this COVID times, which Kyle, remember when, we first got started in February, March timeframe and came on here, we were talking about it. It's gotten a lot worse than it had been then. And yet we've responded in a totally different way. People are used to ordering things online. They're used to doing things differently. They're used to ordering their food online. But now we've got to have these enriched experiences. So the companies that I'm looking at are companies that really use augmented reality to be able to truly enhance that experience. So that's interesting for me.
So I'm gonna push on that for a second. AR, we've talked a little bit about live video and these events and things that we're starting to see. Where are we when it comes to AR in commerce? Is this something that's going to be in the next 3 years? Is this something in the next 10 years? Where do you see the tipping point where AR really becomes a mass adopted tool for consumers? And Susan touched on this a little bit as well, so we'll come back to her on this in a moment. But for you, Gary, where do you see that tipping
Yeah, I
point?
mean, the situation that's already happening now. There are companies like, companies like Burrow, which is a direct-to-consumer furniture brand, and they're helping people visualize what I've seen of several of these companies that just love it. But how a couch will exactly fit in your living room, so it's building these true to fit 3D models, and it's showing you what it's going to look like. We had one in Russia when I was over there last summer. I was fascinated because, it's great to look at a couch and a rooms to go. It's another or IKEA. It's another thing to see what it's going to look like in your room. And what you don't want to do is buy it and figure out, hey, it's a little too short, a little too long. Nothing good's going to happen, right?
Right.
And so I like that. Gartner recently said that there'll be by 2021, I believe it's 90 or 100 million consumers are going to start using AR, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's coming in slowly.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, and there's also talk of rumors, or I guess discussions, that the AR kit by Apple is actually underutilized right now, but it's actually much more powerful than people give credit to for what they've done. And Susan, I want to come to you. I mean, you looked at this as part of your thesis 10 years ago. Here we are full circle. I mean, where do you see AR, VR, but probably more AR, augmented reality, in that tipping point of consumer usage?
Okay, well, the life today is all about integration and convergence, right? So you see that I'm at home doing my things, and then I work. I work and then I watch a movie. So entertainment and living and working and playing, exercising, everything is merging. Why? Because the human being has a very short span of attention and much less bandwidth and time compared to what we had in the past. So we really need to converge everything to be able to, go from one point to another in our life. So when you looking at that, like for example, look at the platforms, look at Alibaba, Amazon. What is that they're doing? They are bringing environments, businesses, APIs, technologies together to create that, get the best out of that convergence concept, right? So make it easier for consumers to do everything in the short matter of time. So when you look at the AR, VR, what is that convergence that you are noticing? Convergence between virtual world and actual world, right? That has to be happening. Otherwise, if you want to have two different sets of words where two different buckets of data, two different buckets of tools that we have to, find transmitting between these two worlds, we're not making the best out of this situation for the consumers and users. So that's why, like, let's say I give you some examples. If it's not all about gaming, it's about, like, look at the virtual classes. If my daughter today sitting 18 hours almost, she complained last week, she was sitting 18 hours on the same chair, right, to go through the classes, to go through after school programs and do her homework. And when I complained that, hey, I didn't see you do your homework, said, I've been on my freaking chair for 18 hours today, right? And she's right? She's right. So, like, let's say if we could project her in the classroom that, she's sitting with all other kids, see the teacher, so she was not feeling that, tired and feel that burden for sitting on the chair, the same spot in the physical world. With that virtual world, we could, in a situation like COVID, we could create a better experience for her. That's one thing, that VR and ER can be applied in education. When I go to shopping, like let's say I go to my friend's house, and I see all those products around her house, and I can somehow, feel that I'm in my virtual fitting room and I can try things and I can see things, I can do that. When I go to a conference and I see like thousands of people and I can see the LinkedIn profile above her head, above their heads, with my glasses on. These were the experiences that actually we were watching when we were kids that will happen in 2000, and it didn't happen yet, right? So that's what we need, that convergence between the virtual and actual world, and that opens up a huge possibility for the human being to maybe monetize the content easier or in a faster fashion, and change the way that we live today.
And Joel, I want to come to you on that convergence, as Susan's mentioning. It sounds like this is what you're doing with a few of your companies. Are you starting to see this as a trend in general, where you're kind of converging two experiences, whether that be on the open kitchen side, the end-to-end data platform that you're reaching, or others that you're looking at as well? Are you seeing this convergence of technologies and industries coming true in many more ways around consumers and the future of consumer commerce?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And one of the things is building a lot of this technology is pretty cheap, because you can take existing platforms and then add on to it, as opposed to spending millions and millions of dollars to do something that already exists. One of the things that's odd to me is all the VC money going into similar, SaaS packages that do the same thing. How many ordering technologies are out there that do basically the same thing, or last mile technologies? The space is flooded with money, but they pretty much are all the same thing. I mean, there's no real differential advantage. The thing that I'm most concerned about, to be honest with you, is whether, I don't know what's going to happen to commercial real estate down the line, but it's not, I'm not very optimistic about it. America particularly has way too much retail anyway. So God knows what all of those gas stations and strip malls are going to end up, what else is going to happen to them over the next, 10 years or longer. The biggest, I guess, bone I have to pick is with payments. Because, I've lived in Asia for so long, and it's very hard to use a credit card in a lot of these countries now. People have wallets. The merchant is not paying 2.5%. The merchant is paying 20 cents or 30 cents a transaction. Why the hell in the United States are people paying 2.5? Why does a merchant have to pay 2.5%? It's crazy. And, we work with a company called Trustly. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's a Finnish company. Their name in Finland is different than the US. The US is called Trustly. That's a start. Where a merchant, but they have to get the consumer to buy in, and then the merchant, the fee for processing payments is maybe 30, 40% cheaper, but not 80% cheaper. But, to me, if we want to do anything about retail, there's no, the key thing is, how do we get the payment commission down to a reasonable amount? I gather that the banks are going to fight this tooth and nail. But as you well know, for your viewers, I'm sure the people on the panel know this already. In Asia, we're pretty much a super app focused business, where people just have their Gojek app or their WeChat app, and they pay for everything, and it's a wallet structure. It doesn't have to be a wallet, but it's a wallet structure, and you pretty much can't go anywhere in China or Indonesia with credit card these days. So I think the US is quite behind all of that. So there's a lot more efficiencies that, banks are making a lot of money from inefficiencies. So that whoever cracks that code and gets the regulatory authorities to be behind it, I think is going to make a lot of money, obviously.
Well, and it's a bigger problem too, right? We have legacy infrastructure in the United States when it comes to payments. Let's be very clear on that timeline, right? We have very legacy. We're still using checks in most cases when it comes to business and personal transactions. Europe is just slightly ahead. When it came to the chips and the credit cards, right? Europe was first, and we took forever in the United States to get that. Whereas Asia in specific areas, so China, Indonesia, Singapore, a lot of those areas didn't have those legacy markets in place or infrastructures. They could instantly deploy something like WeChat. And exactly, I've been there, so I can speak to this.
Well, I'll just mention one point. I mean, I lived in Japan for many years, in 4 different decades, and no one wrote a check in Japan almost ever. Okay, I mean, a check was a very odd thing. You'd give a check to somebody and they'd say, what is that? Last week someone wanted to pay me with a check from Iowa. And I said, do you have to send me a check? And the person said, well, what else do you want? I said, wire me the money. And they go, can I just send you the check? I said, you just send it to me. Then I have to take a picture of it. And if it's your local bank, they'll only allow it up to be $2,500. So then I have to put it in a brokerage account. So it's not what I'm used to, put it that way.
It's very legacy, and we've talked about it around Latam and Africa and other parts of greater Asia. I mean, look at India and the emergence of payments into WhatsApp, right, and South Korea with Line, LINE. I mean, this is something that's changing. And Joel, to your point, I mean, 2020 has forced this. I mean, we even saw reports over the weekend that the majority of citizens here in the U.S. specifically no longer want to carry fiat paper currency. They would rather just use digital payments because it's easy, right? Contactless payments is easy. But there's an infrastructure issue there, including the devices that we use, because not everyone has a digital smartphone that does apply that. Now, again, I'm being very broad strokes in those comments because
it's the power of lobby, right? I mean, the holders of these legacy infrastructure, they hate innovation, and they can stop it for a while, but eventually you look at the mobile penetration, right? All the emerging countries were much ahead of US for years, right? Anyone in the villages, you know, they had their cell phone with them, right, doing things. But we're very behind because of the power of lobby. And you know, just pushing and stopping these, you know, innovations to get adopted, because the first layer of basically the users that has to adopt it is the government, right? I mean,
well, we've got Stripe that just released the open API, open banking API last week. I think we had another company, which I forget their name, so apologies to them, but they also released it. And so we're going to see, to both of your points, you're spot on. We're going to see this was the tipping point, 2020. It's game over over the next few years, hopefully, towards that processing of more streamlined payments, Joel, to what you wish and we all wish to see happen for consumers as well.
That exactly happened to cryptocurrency, ICOs, blockchain, and everything a couple years ago. The U.S. government decided to stop that innovation all around the world, right? But I mean, the thing is that doesn't stay that way, and eventually innovation wins.
Right. But I'll tell you just one other point. I mean, the first time I went to Africa was 2013 in Kenya, and they were all using analog phones for payments with Safaricom. So that's as far back as 2013, 2012. They don't need a smartphone. They were using very cheap Chinese phones to make all their payments in rural as well as urban centers. So that could have happened in the US, you know, God knows how many years ago. Before we had
coulda, should have, would have, and now here we are going forced. The hand is forced to your point, Joel. It has to happen, and it has to happen now. And Jose, I want to come to you real quick. Thank you, Joel and Susan as well. Jose, any closing thoughts that you may have, and where can everyone find you as we come to close here? I know we've talked about a lot, and sorry to put you on the spot there, but anything else to add and closing thoughts on today's topic?
I think the conversation was very good today. So I think Susan and Joel, they really exposed it very well. So I could add a few things to it, but I would say more or less the same. I agree definitely that everything is converging. That's the way to go. And I can tell you that we were only able to build this virtual social market economy, this biz money, because we are converging all the pieces in one shot. I'd call it like a super app, right? That's the only way you can do it. And then suddenly you have it super speed up, because you don't lose a lot of time jumping from, let's say, one supply into another supply. That's one thing. But also because all the processes there are smoothly integrated, suddenly you can do business like 100 times or 1,000 times faster than you would do normally. Now, there's one thing I strongly believe that in the future will completely disappear. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's just the way I see it, is that online shops, I don't see any future for it. Because the future basically is you have an environment, either it's AR or VR or whatever it is, right? And in that environment, you get it somehow popped up, yes or no, and it's more targeted. Nobody has, unless you want to have searching for yourself. But even then, you go out and you do a search engine, you plug it in, you get like 5 or 10 solutions, right? And you just pick one out. So You know, maybe the big brands will still do it, but I don't see any future to have like millions and millions and millions of online shops, which is a never-ending story. And that's one thing. Then the other thing is, I agree with Joel that the whole settlement system, okay, doesn't make any sense in 2020, right? those fees of 3.5%, 4%, it's outrageous, and it's easy to understand once you start checking out how to issue a credit card, and you see how many people earn from the inefficiency, small percentage here, small percentage there. Then it's the issuer, there's the guy who prints the card, and then it's the guy who, you know, who distributes the card, and then there's the bank who does the settlement. It's a never-ending story. I can tell you that today, you know, if I look at BizMoney as an example, 0.5%, and that's it. The whole system, right? And in one shot. And if something is delivered to your door, no credit card needed. Even in buying something, there is no credit card needed, right? So, or any cash. I have this problem here myself that sometimes I order something and they say, well, we don't accept online payment. It happens. And then they come on the door and they have no exchange, or the machine, you know, to swipe it's not working properly, right? So all those things, you know, is really inefficient in the whole process. So the way I look at it is, yes, I'll say a very positive yes to what Susan said, also what Joel said. Conversion technologies, everything smoother, lower fees for everything. And one thing is very important. I think Susan said it very well, and maybe nobody paid attention to it. It's proximity. And everything that you need in your life is 30 kilometers around you. I don't think people even understand that you don't need to go out to another city unless you live in the mountain or in the countryside, right? But if you typically live somewhere in any of the cities, even mid-sized or even small-sized today, you know, everything that you need for your whole life is 30 kilometers around you, stored somewhere, right? So if you understand that, why are you going to buy something which is in another country? You're paying all this logistics for nothing. Or why are you going to buy something in another state? Because it's, you know, just around the corner, right? And I'll leave it like that. So you can find me on LinkedIn, on the Jose Grasa, or on the BizMoney. And, you know, if you want to contact me, please go ahead. I'm always open. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jose. Gary, quick closing thoughts. Where can you be found online?
Yeah, so as I said, hyper-personalization, you know, being able to have the right product, the right time presented to you when you want it, or when the system, the unsupervised AI thinks that you're going to want it. That's really a good thing. And I know from my own experiences and that it's makes life a lot easier. The other thing is we haven't talked about the supply chain, but part of the big challenges we've had in e-commerce is getting the right kind of products in place. So, I mean, we've got to go back through and make sure we've got a transparent supply chain in order to make sure those products are on the shelves. You know, with all the technology we have, we couldn't get toilet paper. Now, something's wrong with that picture. You know what I mean?
Guys, can I add one thing? Because I like to end things. The future of retail and advertising is all about collaboration. If the brands, financial institutes, technology companies, service providers, they think that the customers are loyal to them, they are damn wrong. We need to work with the consumers. And I told you that 4P that I coined a few years ago: promotions, proximity, popularity, and preferences. If we can solve for these 4Ps, the customers come to us and we're going to monetize the content. We're going to solve all these problems. But if we don't collaborate to make those problems solved for her, we're very wrong. And we're going to the wrong direction.
I mean, we got to go down through, you know, I'm a clinical psychologist too. We got to understand our customers a whole lot better than we do today. We got to understand what their preferences are and do some forecasting. And I know with Eva, right, we got 19 AI patents. And one of the things that we looked at is using unsupervised AI to do a whole lot of things. Imagine all the data that's collected on us today, right? I mean, Google does, it's done, it's being done today, but we got to do it in a wider fashion, and we got to make it more immersive for the consumer. The last thing we talk about is really hybrid models. I mean, the models that have survived through this COVID experience. I mean, you're right about people forget though. Other thing is they forget.
Mm-hmm.
People like to be together and shop. I mean, I got to tell you, people like it. They don't like sitting home, in their rooms. Fine, it's great to get the convenience, but there's a social experience involved with shopping, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at things. Let's touch them with feelings. So it's going to be some time. I forecast this. Once this COVID experience is done, next year or two, people again, they forget. Just like in 1918, they start shopping, they start going out and hanging out together. We forget very quickly. So it's a great opportunity. You can reach me, Gary Fowler, on LinkedIn. You can reach me on Twitter, Gary Fowler, and check out my show on the 10th. I'm using my technology, facial recognition, to help find kids. I've got the District Attorney of New York, the CEO of the National Task Force for Missing and Exploited Children, the Homeland Security, and we're going out and we want to bring 400,000+ kids are taken every year. We want to go out and put a little dent in the universe and help find them. So tune in to my show on the 10th.
Thank you, Gary. Susan, any closing thoughts to add, and where can everyone find you to continue the conversation?
I want me to end things again.
Well, no, Joel's last. You're second to last. Don't worry. I just want to make sure people can find you, so that's why I wanted to give you that moment.
Yeah, sure. They can find me on LinkedIn. I'm all over the place, and I'd be happy to talk to the entrepreneurs who can help us to create more collaborative platforms for everyone.
Wonderful. There you go. And Joel, end us with your closing thoughts, and where can everyone find you online?
Well, I'm bringing up the rear, so I would say, I would say that anyone that has an interest in solving some of these payments issues, retail, the survival of retail and survival of restaurants, can find me on LinkedIn, Joel Silverstein, East West Hospitality Group in Hong Kong, and I'm there, easy to find. Thanks.
Wonderful. Joel, Jose, Susan, Gary, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and insights with us today. And to your audience, thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard, click subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Thank you, Gary. And if you'd like to be on a show like today as either an investor joining a panel like our guest today, thank you, Jose, do reach out if you'd like to be an entrepreneur to share your thoughts and insights, but also your company, product, or service with us and our live community. Do reach out to us as well. And a big thank you to the LA Token team and to Maria for making VCTV possible every single day. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. You can find me along with all of our guests online 24/7, 365. Make sure you add context when you reach out.